Okay, so here I am, and I wasn't lying. The only place they have that's big enough to do this is really in my living room. So what you do is you lay your quilt out, and what you've done is you have to create a front and you have to create a back. And you saw me finish the front, and you create the back the exact same way, but because it's a different design, I thought I would lay the front down and work on the back so you could see it. The next thing you need to do is take your batting, and this is Mountain Mist Cream Rose 100% cotton batting. And batting comes in a lot of different thicknesses, and when you talk about thickness and batting, what you're talking about is its loft. So this is just a prepackaged nursery crib sized piece of batting, and what you do is you get that and you lay it out kind of nice and flat, and see how all these seams are pressed out flat except for the exception of these few right here. That's what you want to do. It's kind of important. So the next thing you do is you take your spray adhesive and you spray all over the back. Give yourself a good amount of spray adhesive. And that's a tip actually that my Aunt Rosemary gave me. And I've seen other people use it since, but she was the first one who put that little idea in my head. So then you take your batting. And since you saw that my batting is bigger than the actual quilt, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it is overhanging on all sides. I'm just going to trim away the excess. So try and get it in a nice, smooth, flat layer. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is flip it over and then give it a quick trim with some shears all around the outside. I'm going to leave just a little bit of overhang, which I'll trim away later, but not very much. So you see what you have is the beginnings to your quilt. Now make sure everything is nice and wrinkle-free as it can possibly be. And then flip it back over. Try and brush off anything that may have accumulated on the bottom. And then you'll take the bottom, or the back, and you'll lay it out right on top. Now this is where it's kind of important. You want to make sure that they are both facing the right way, and they are. And what I do is just lay it down like that and meet the sides. And then I'll fold this over and I'll spray one good spray adhesive right along the bottom. Just lay this down. And now I will pull this back and spray a nice amount of spray adhesive. And lift it up and slowly lay it down. And you can see if you've done everything right. I just need to finesse it a little bit over this way. And you can see that spray adhesive isn't permanent. You can go ahead and lift things up if you need to. Smooth it out. And if you want, you can go ahead and trim off all this excess batting. You don't have to, but you will have to do it sooner or later in the process, so you can do it now while you have everything out. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just be careful though, because if you haven't lined up the quilt perfectly, you could accidentally be cutting off a piece of the other side, and that would be disappointing. And there you go. And now the next thing you're going to do is take this over to the machine and do the actual quilting. So I'll see you over there. So the one thing I forgot to mention is you want to make your quilting guides. And you do that just by laying your rulers out, and you can see sometimes you need more than one to make a nice straight line, and you match up the corners side to side. Just like that. And then you take one of these temporary washable quilter's pens and you just make your line. And go ahead and make it nice and dark, because sometimes this line, if you don't make it dark enough, will disappear before you even get over to your sewing machine, depending on what kind of brand you're using. And many different manufacturers make these kinds of washable pens. And then you just flip it over and make another line, going the exact opposite way. Because if you've done everything right, the point should cross right in the middle, at least for this particular quilt. Alright, so there you go. And these are your quilting lines. So I'll see you over at the sewing machine.